Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear California's in a state of turmoil. And I ask my fellow Angelenos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office?
Mel, any message from you to Governor Newsom or Karen Bass tonight?
Spend less on hair gel. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, what can I say to them? Not big admirer of either.
I don't like him either.
Picture Gavin Newsom strutting across the stage like California's self-crowned prince, casually sipping on his kale smoothie as if the spotlight was made just for him. But suddenly, Mel Gibson storms in with the rage of a Hollywood warrior, looking like Braveheart 2, the governor's roast in real time. Newsom might have believed San Francisco sidewalks and potholes were his toughest obstacles, but Gibson tore into his ego as if it were flimsy cardboard. This wasn't some civilized debate. It was a wrecking match, and Gavin was strapped in as the crash dummy. Gibson didn't just throw a few witty lines, he incinerated Newsom like a Malibu hillside in wildfire season, leaving behind only ashes, smoke, and that polished smirk burned to the ground.
We deserve much more and much better, and there is absolutely no adequate excuse the governor or mayor can make for this gross mismanagement and failure to preemptively deal with what they knew was coming.
California didn't just vote for a governor, it handed Gavin Newsom the starring role in a never-ending soap opera called As the State Burns. He doesn't lead, he performs, treating every press conference like an audition for Most Responsible Leader in a toothpaste ad, flashing that gleaming smile while chaos explodes behind him. The cruel comedy? As the house goes up in flames, Gavin is still polishing his angles and rehearsing that signature smirk in the mirror. His record isn't a roadmap to progress. It's a highlight reel on how to drain a state of talent, money, and sanity. While California bleeds opportunity, Newsom keeps striking poses, desperate to make sure the spotlight never strays from his carefully curated image.
And Mel Gibson had some very interesting things to say about California Governor Gavin Newsom's failure to prepare the state for these catastrophic wildfires that are ravaging LA still.
In 2019, I think Newsom said, I'm going to take care of the forests and maintain the forests and do all that kind of stuff. He didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything. And then on top of that, they cut the water off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all funny. And then I think all our tax dollars probably went for Gavin's hair gel. I don't know, but it's like, it's sad. It's like the place is just on fire.
If this demolition has you entertained, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, because Gavin Newsom is practically handing us the punchlines himself. He's got the dramatic stance of a superhero, the glossy locks of a shampoo model, yet the spine of a jellyfish drifting in the surf. Picture him striding down a pothole-riddled street, tripping face first into one, and then blaming the asphalt with a deadly serious tone. Instead of owning the moment, he'd launch into a 20-minute monologue about innovation and future solutions, missing the fact that he's become the punchline in his own show. Every blunder morphs into a performance, every failure into an act, and the crowd isn't applauding, they're laughing.
How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate? It's time to take back our community and our state and put the power and the privilege in the hands of competent leaders whose goals are to protect us and the way of life this nation was founded upon and promises to offer. That's all.
Look no further than the homeless crisis. It's California's open wound, bleeding billions every year while the streets resemble a dystopian movie set. It's like some director keeps yelling, "More chaos, more despair," as Gavin Newsom strolls through with cameras rolling, unveiling yet another recycled plan that sounds exactly like the last one. But the tents don't disappear. They multiply, spreading into neighborhoods and turning downtown San Francisco into The Walking Dead, live on location. Families struggle, communities collapse, and businesses flee as if California itself is burning. Elon Musk didn't just move Tesla. He waved goodbye with a smirk on his way to Texas. Meanwhile, small business owners, crushed under sky-high taxes and suffocating regulations, are abandoning ship faster than passengers on a sinking Titanic. Yet there stands Gavin, wide-eyed and clueless, pretending to wonder why anyone would escape a place where salads cost $20. Taxes eat 15% of your paycheck, and rolling blackouts are just another Tuesday night.
Now, a lot of people have been coming out and calling out, Gavin Newsom endlessly, and the biggest one of all is Mel Gibson. We all know that he is a very big, open critic of Gavin Newsom, and he continues to actually do that, and rightfully so, because we already know that there's a lot of issues going on right now within the state of California.
California's blackouts have turned the state's power grid into a national punchline, where families pay the highest rates in the country only to sit in the dark as their food spoils and money vanishes. Gavin brags about his green leadership, but in reality, it means importing electricity from neighboring states just to keep the lights on. He calls it progress, but everyone else calls it pathetic. Residents live like unwilling campers on a permanent survival trip. Except, instead of roasting marshmallows, they're tossing out hundreds of dollars in ruined groceries. And the water crisis? Even worse. California sits between the Pacific and snow-capped mountains, yet every year Gavin scolds families about watering lawns, as if saving a few fish outweighs saving farmers. Reservoirs vanish, crops die, and his only solution is tighter restrictions. His water policy is as sloppy as a toddler finger-painting the walls. Farmers plead, families ration, and Gavin shrugs while the state inches toward desert status. If Mel Gibson films another Mad Max, he won't need props. He can just pan the camera across Gavin's California, yell, "Action!" and the apocalypse is already rolling.
Gibson lost his house in these wildfires. And what you just saw there was an effort to recall the governor and Mayor Bass. Does his star power in this matter?
It matters in the sense we're playing it now on national television on a highly rated Fox and Friends first show, and that has gone viral on social media. And meanwhile, the same day that Mel Gibson says what he says there, and he's correct on so many things as far as the management of wildfires, Gavin Newsom's approval on the handling of the wildfires is only 30%.
Wow.
Gavin Newsom's pandemic response was a catastrophe that exposed his hypocrisy in the ugliest spotlight imaginable. While millions of Californians were locked inside, businesses shuttered, and kids glued to glitchy Zoom screens, Gavin acted like the rules were optional for him. Families canceled weddings, funerals, and holidays, yet their governor was spotted feasting at Napa's most exclusive restaurant, laughing over fine wine while the rest of the state suffered. This wasn't just hypocrisy. It was hypocrisy plated with foie gras and served with a smirk. And the schools? In the state that boasts Silicon Valley and some of the wealthiest districts, students still ranked embarrassingly low in math and reading. Crime exploded into a running joke, with mobs storming stores in broad daylight, arms full of loot, while Gavin declared everything was under control. Under control for who? The thieves. Walgreens, Target, and other retailers locked their doors because theft was treated like a parking ticket. And now, Californians can't even buy toothpaste without begging someone to unlock the case. Gavin has turned California into a live-action video game, Grand Theft Shopping Cart, where criminals roam free while citizens foot the bill.
And Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass, well, they were also suggesting that LA was under control. They had it covered while, of course, LA was essentially burning. And they've been blaming Donald Trump for all the chaos in LA, while Gavin Newsom has been trying to emerge as the strong leader of the Democrats as he eyes off the presidency in 3 years' time. But actor Mel Gibson has spoken out, blasting the governor and the mayor, rightfully so, for their disastrous leadership.
Housing in California is the crown jewel of Gavin Newsom's failures, a nightmare so crushing that ordinary families can't even dream of owning a home anymore. Young workers cram into tiny apartments with 4 roommates well into their 30s, while families squeeze into shoebox rentals buried under sky-high rent. Gavin's solution? Another vague, affordable housing promise that evaporates as soon as it's announced. He'll cut ribbons on shiny projects with a handful of units, pretending it's real progress, while millions stay trapped in debt and despair. At this rate, the crisis might not be solved until the year 3050. Yet Newsom still parades around like a man auditioning for the presidency, convinced America is begging for a nation that looks like San Francisco, where stepping over needles and paying $9 for a latte during a blackout is the new normal. His so-called leadership is nothing but a blooper reel dressed up as a campaign ad, and putting him in the White House would be like hiring the captain of the Titanic to run the Coast Guard. The irony? Every disaster under his rule is spun into applause. Sky-high gas prices become leadership, raging wildfires become innovation, and spiraling crime gets sold as progress. Gavin could trip face first into a pothole and still call it a bold new infrastructure plan. Because in his world, failure isn't failure. It's just another act. And Californians are the audience stuck paying for tickets.
If I were giving the governor advice, I'd say, don't be so overt that people can see the wheels turning. The obvious question would be, well, you've been governor of California for 6 years. You were lieutenant governor for many years before that. When did you have this epiphany? And the answer is when he found that the Republicans could weaponize the issue.
Gavin Newsom struts around with the arrogance of a Hollywood star, treating politics like a red carpet premiere, where the lighting, the pose, and the perfect shot matter more than leadership. Under him, California isn't governed. It's produced like a cheap Netflix series, overhyped, overpriced, and abandoned halfway through by fed-up viewers. He parades as the moral compass of the nation, while living in a fantasy of double standards, slamming big oil while riding in endless motorcades, preaching climate change while jetting to photo ops, and lecturing on inequality from inside palatial mansions fit for royalty. He's not a governor. He's the poster child for hypocrisy. And then come the wildfires. Millions of acres burned to the ground. Families losing everything. Entire towns reduced to ash. Yet Gavin shows up like Smokey the Bear's clueless cousin, flashing that perfected look of concern for the cameras. Every summer, Californians brace themselves for fire season the way others wait for a new Netflix release. Because tragedy is guaranteed, and Gavin's answer will be another press conference instead of real action. Homes are destroyed, lives are shattered, and still, Newsom poses like he's shooting a GQ cover, turning disaster into his personal photo shoot while California burns.
We have to do a better job. We need competent, good governance. Now, that doesn't mean you can't criticize the governor of California for, I think, some very bad decisions over a very long period of time. I mean, some of these reservoirs have been dry for 15, 20 years. The fire hydrants are being reported as going dry while the firefighters are trying to put...
California's budget under Gavin Newsom is a black hole where billions disappear without explanation, even as the state slaps residents with some of the highest taxes in the nation. Gavin treats money like a child with Play-Doh. It looks impressive for a moment, then half vanishes, and the rest is smashed into the carpet. Every year, Sacramento brags about a historic surplus, and every year that so-called surplus evaporates while the streets stay broken, schools sink, and crime keeps climbing. If California were a movie, it wouldn't be a drama or a comedy. It would be Money Pit 2, Sacramento Edition. And then there's Gavin's Green Crusade, banning gas-powered cars by 2035, a laughable fantasy in a state that can't even keep the lights on in 2025. Imagine plugging in your brand-new electric car only to find the grid already collapsed. Welcome to Survivor, Los Angeles, brought to you by Newsom's policies. The irony? The state that lectures the nation about carbon footprints ends up importing coal power just to stay afloat. Meanwhile, endless regulations choke everything. Want to build a home? Brace yourself for years of fees, permits, zoning hoops, and suffocating red tape that leave families broke before a single brick is laid. Gavin acts shocked when housing implodes and rent soars, but he's the one who built the maze in the first place. He's the referee, the saboteur, and the heckler all rolled into one, while Californians are stuck footing the bill.
And look at Gavin Newsom. He tried to do this, was it a radio show or podcast, whatever he tried to do. Now he's busy trolling on social media, and it's cringe, it's falling flat. I'm sure they'll come after me now, who cares? Because Donald Trump is one of one. Only he can do what he's done with social media, with podcasts, in the way he's done it. 900 rallies and counting.
Let's end with a laugh. Gas prices. In California, filling your tank feels like applying for a mortgage. Texans fuel up for the price of a burger, while Californians practically need to auction off a kidney just to reach half a tank. Gavin blames greedy oil companies, but skips over the mountain of taxes and regulations he stacked himself. It's like burning down your own house and blaming the matchmaker. Mel Gibson wouldn't need dialogue for this roast. He could just point at a California gas station and say, "Insert organ to continue." And the exodus? It's a stampede. Families, retirees, and businesses are fleeing to Texas, Florida, Arizona, anywhere but Gavin's collapsing empire. The recall vote showed just how deep the anger ran, and while Gavin survived, it wasn't because people admired him, it was because his challengers were even weaker than his policies. That's not triumph, it's dumb luck. Meanwhile, public safety has spiraled into chaos, where stealing under $950 is practically legal, turning smash and grabs into California's newest sport. Thieves ransack stores in broad daylight, and Gavin's answer is to insist, everything's fine. He claims California is safe, while residents lock toothpaste behind glass and retailers board up locations. The crown jewel of the West has become a cautionary tale parents use as warnings, yet Gavin still dreams of the White House. He thinks America is craving San Francisco's chaos as a national export, as if tents, $12 gas, and banned plastic forks are the secret to success. His presidential dreams aren't bold. They're delusions bottled in expensive hair gel.
Curious. We see a lot of the cities that you can't conceal carry, or it's extremely hard to get concealed carry, or California being one of them, Illinois, New York. I mean, do you think that everyday citizens carrying a gun reduces crime or increases crime?
I think the evidence suggests the opposite. It increases the likelihood of a gun death.
Gavin Newsom loves to brag about California leading the fight against climate change, but the irony couldn't be harsher. Every year, wildfires spew more pollution than millions of cars combined, making his green crusade look like a farce. He bans plastic straws while entire forests burn to the ground. That's like bragging about paper bags while tossing Molotov cocktails across the neighborhood. And through it all, his one real talent shines: performance. He isn't a governor, he's an actor, treating every disaster as nothing more than another chance to tilt his head, strike the right pose, and deliver speeches that sound like they were ghostwritten by an unpaid intern. Californians don't need a stylist, they need a leader. But Gavin has turned Sacramento into a film set, and its people into extras, running the state on perfect lighting and dramatic pauses. He really believes a smirk and a suit can cover the reality of tents on sidewalks, soaring costs, collapsing schools, and middle-class families loading U-Hauls to escape the madness. If Mel Gibson roasted Gavin, he wouldn't need a script, props, or even a punchline. Just a mirror. Because Gavin's California is already the joke, and the punchline is painfully obvious to everyone forced to live in it.
He plays this slick little game of words. He doesn't say crime goes up, he says gun deaths go up. Why? Because that phrasing triggers your brain into thinking guns are the problem. But let's break that down. If you've got more guns in one state than the other, obviously the number of deaths involving guns is going to be higher in that state. That doesn't mean it's more dangerous. It just means the tools used are different. You know where the gun death rate is low?
At the end of it all, Gavin Newsom isn't a leader. He's a cautionary tale wrapped in designer suits and drowning in hair gel. California was once the dream, the golden state of opportunity. But under his watch, it's become the land of cracked roads, endless blackouts, and price tags so outrageous, even Beverly Hills matrons do a double take. He's not governing, he's running a non-stop PR campaign, and the product he's peddling is pure dysfunction dressed in a polished smile. The most absurd part? Gavin still believes this disaster reel is his resume for the presidency, as if Americans are begging for California's circus on a national scale. Rolling blackouts, tent cities, sky-high taxes, he markets them like they're export-worthy inventions. He pictures himself in the Oval Office, but in reality, he's the political equivalent of a rejected pilot episode, glossy, overproduced, and completely unwatchable. If history remembers him, it won't be for leadership or vision, but for the bitter irony of a man who looked the part of a governor, yet governed like a background extra. The hair will gray, the smirk will fade, but the wreckage he leaves behind will scar California for decades. Gavin Newsom isn't the state's future. He's the blooper reel America never asked for, and the punchline nobody wanted.